All right, guys, back on Southeastern 16 with Chase Robinson talking SEC football this offseason. The Texas Longhorns. We talked about ESPN had their kind of post spring, way too early top 25. And we were going down the list of SEC teams and we're saying, all right, who's where? Texas was the first team up after Penn State was one, Clemson was two. Texas was at three. And we're kind of breezing through that one, talking about all the SEC teams. We didn't spend a lot of time on the Longhorns, but I got a feeling we will spend a lot of time on them this summer and heading into next season because it does seem like when you just look at the way this roster is setting up, this is clearly going to be a team that is going to be one of the favorites to win the national championship. Certainly, when you kind of look at it, especially if we start on the offensive side of the ball, there's good reason why Texas seems to be the SEC favorite for a lot of people, potentially heading into at least this part of the offseason, and we'll see if they stay there heading into the start of the season in a couple months.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And these guys that are returning may not have been starters. A lot of them were not, but they've been there. They've been a part of the program. They've been under Sark. They've been under his staff, and there's something to say about that. And I think they see, hey, we're getting our opportunity now. There was not they did not bring in a transfer on offense. They brought in several on defense and some special teams guys, but they didn't bring in any incoming transfers on offense. And I think they're pretty confident with who they have offensively. Now they're replacing a good bit on the offensive line. They're losing 4 offensive linemen. So that's going to be an area they're rebuilding. They lost their top 3 wide receivers from last year as well. Isaiah Bond, Matthew Golden, and Helm, losing those 3 guys, but they've got some solid receivers in there as well. So while a lot of these guys who are coming back now may not be starters, they've been there, and I think that says a lot. And I think they are very confident in who they have offensively. And then look, like everybody's been waiting for the Arch Manning era to begin there in Austin, and that will happen in August. And I think a lot of people are excited about that, and rightfully so. He's a good quarterback and has some valuable pieces around him. But I think kind of a something as I look in, and I've heard Sark. I listened to quite a bit of interviews with him over the spring, and he just seems really, really confident. Like, Texas has been there. They know what it takes to get to the college football playoff the last 2 years, and now know what it takes to get to the SEC championship because they did that this year. They seem confident in who they have, and I think that's really good, especially after a year of losing the guys that they lost after last season.
What do you think in terms of like differences? Like you said, it's the Arch Manning era now, and we always mention, we talked about it in the Alabama video we did this week too. Like, just sort of, there's going to always be the compare and contrast. The guy that was there versus the guy that's coming in, even though both these guys were there. But differences maybe in how you see this offense going under Arch Manning versus Quinn Ewers, who we know certainly accomplished some nice things at Texas while he was there. But like you said, it's going to be something where Arch is going to have a different offensive line to work under with some new guys sliding in, and again, some new weapons as well to work with. But what do you see maybe just initially, or what are you most looking for kind of as we transition now to Arch Manning full-time there under center?
Yeah, I think he's going to be under a little bit more pressure, and I think that's something that we're going to see a lot of, especially at the beginning. Like, how does Arch Manning respond to pressure? Because yes, it is a new offensive line. They lost 4 of them. I mean, that's a lot to replace up front, and so and it's going to take some time for the offensive line to gel. So there's going to be guys in Arch Manning's face. How does he respond to that? What does he do? I think that's something that I'm looking forward to seeing at the beginning of the season. But really, Steve Sarkeesian is such a creative offensive coach, and he's really good. And I was talking to someone who's really close to the Alabama football program, and they were talking about when Sark was at Alabama and an injury happened or whatever. He was so quick to adjust the offense completely to what that player coming in can do. And so he had his offensive sets for Quinn Ewers, and I know he is completely adjusting them to fit the strengths of Arch Manning. And not every coach can do that. Even these offensive coordinators, these head coaches who are offensive minds, not every coach can completely adjust and tweak everything they do to fit the skill set of a player. But Steve Sarkeesian can, and that's why he's successful. And so I think there's going to be differences in some ways, but I think there's going to be some similarities too in what they do, because they're similar in ways. I was a huge Quinn Ewers fan. I thought he had a great career at Texas. We're going to see Arch airing out a lot. I think he's got a pretty strong arm and a really high football IQ. He's got some great family members who understand the game as well, who have helped him. So I think we'll see some creativity, I think, out of Arch Manning from Steve Sarkeesian's playbook in 2025.
Yeah, like we said, I mean, certainly you look at Texas last year and you're trying to find some of the carryover, and can they reach the certain same level they did in some of those areas. I mean, they led the SEC in total yards. They scored more points than any team in the SEC. I think they finished like 100 passing yards behind Ole Miss, of course, who had Jackson Dart. They finished in top 3 in rushing yards. And so just all the different numbers, again, as you're trying to replicate this with, like we said, a lot of guys returning maybe on the roster, but guys who are going to get sort of vaulted into different spots now and sort of, be expected to do more. The expectations get a little bit higher in terms of the responsibilities they're going to have on this team. But really, it's really just, hey, can you get the offensive line where it needs to be, even though it looks different? Can you get some of these other guys stepping up in those playmaking spots? Like, that's obviously going to be the thing that helps Arch Manning the most there, just because, again, the talent, you sort of can't deny the talent that he's going to, be able to bring to the table. And like you said, I think with Sark, someone who does a pretty good job from a design standpoint of being able to design things around the strengths of his players, which we know all great coaches are able to do that. And so, yeah, that's clearly one of the top storylines with Texas. But I guess, too, Chase, as we talked about this, I mean, when we are looking at Texas and saying, all right, this is why they're number 3 in these early rankings. This is why they could be by this time, in September, maybe they are the favorite. Who knows? Maybe it's not Penn State. Maybe it's not Clemson. Or again, we can be debating whether it's Georgia or anyone else. But what else about this team? Obviously, there are some things on the defensive side of the ball that are certainly going to stand out too. But what else with this team? What are some of those intangibles, or just anything else that you feel like are kind of going to contribute to this being a great possibility for Texas to win the national championship in 2026?
Last year the run game was really strong, and I think it's going to kind of pick up where it left off. You got Wisner coming back at running back. You've got C.J. Baxter. He battled injury. He'll be back this year. Jarrett Gibson, Christian Clark, 4 really strong running backs. And so I think even if it does take Arch Manning time to be adjusted to being the starting quarterback, the run game is going to be really strong. There were times last season, towards the end of the year, where I was thinking, especially in the playoff, like Texas ran the ball so strong. They're still running on Clemson in that first round playoff game. I mean, their run game was so strong for Texas last year, and I think that's going to be a big part of the offense again. They have great receivers, either coming back or ones that are going to step up to some big roles. But I love watching Wisner. Baxter's a great running back as well. Like those guys are going to be workhorses for Texas this year offensively. And then on the defensive side of the ball, I think that, again, you think of Steve Sarkeesian, you think offense. Well, he's gone out and made his defense where you want to think defense when you think Steve Sarkeesian as well. He's brought in some really good transfers. Some guys, really good guys, are coming back for Texas defensively this year. I was super impressed with their defense. I mean, they were locked down last year and put up some great numbers defensively, and I think they'll continue that this year as well. So not only, you think of the offense and kind of guys having to step up, losing some offensively, I think the defense is going to be a lockdown defense once again for Texas. That's going to be huge for the Longhorns this year.
Yeah, and as we know, they start the season at Ohio State on August 30th, and you talk about just kind of a pivotal start to the season. I mean, I feel like it was, the Michigan game last year was one that kind of, stood out, and now as you look at this starting here at Ohio State and, being able to have an opportunity to right off the bat kind of establish yourself as the favorite if you go in and win that game. We know other road games for Texas on their schedule this year. They're at Florida, who, again, very high expectations for Billy Napier's team this season after kind of a maybe turnaround last year a bit. They go to Georgia on November 15th, and of course you've got some other big games, as we know, Texas A&M, Oklahoma, and the Cotton Bowl, all there as well for Texas this season. So yeah, I think it's going to be kind of fascinating. I think, as I look at it, I can see why maybe some of these ESPN rankings, maybe very high on teams like Penn State and Clemson, but yeah, I think it's warranted to be very high on Texas here, Chase, heading into the 2025 season, just based on the talent that they have returning, as we said, stepping into new roles, but also who they have at quarterback, and the defense should be, really good. So there you go, some initial thoughts here on the Longhorns. And you know what, Chase? It's never too early to look ahead to games. We might do that soon. We might just look ahead to that Ohio State game and just give Texas fans a little something to chew on as we are, months away, but still not that far away from the opener on August 30th. But we appreciate you guys watching. Hit that subscribe button, hit the like button as well. Let us know your thoughts. What do you think about the Texas Longhorns heading into next season, and what are your expectations, whether it's certain positions, Arch Manning, however you want to do it. Let us know in the comments. We appreciate you guys watching, and we'll talk to you soon here at Southeastern 16.